Hi, Year 10. So for today's lesson, there's a couple of things that I'll need you to do before you join our Google Meet chat. So week 9 is all about refining your drafts. You're going to receive your drafts, guys. Tomorrow is when we're hoping to get them back to you. Bear in mind that they've taken us a lot longer to mark because we did increase the word limit, which is fine. But a lot of you are over the word limit as well. So that just does increase the time that it takes to mark. And we're trying to be as detailed in our feedback as possible as well. Guys, a lot of us are making some really simple mistakes in our drafts in terms of the language. And so what I want you to focus on this lesson, I'll be doing some whole class feedback on each criteria tomorrow in tomorrow's lesson. And then also you'll get your drafts back as well, inshallah. So today's lesson, what you're going to do is give each other some feedback, not on the whole essay, Year 10, but you are just going to choose one paragraph that you'd like to share with a partner, and I'll tell you who your partner is in a moment. So what you're going to do is you'll read your partner's paragraph and you'll give them feedback on the following things. So we're looking at the structure. Has your partner followed the correct Peel structure? And do they use appropriate signposting? And what we mean by that is we're asking you, does the point sentence sound like a point sentence? Does the linking sentence use therefore or thus or to conclude or any of those signposting language features? The same would go with the comparison part of the paragraph as well. If your partner has given you the paragraph on text B, their second text, then you should be looking for that comparative language. However, although in contrast to, so that's what we're talking about when we're asking you to look at the structure. The relevance, are their ideas actually relevant to the main point that's being established in the paragraph? And more importantly, is their main point accurate? Is what they're saying actually accurate in their analysis? So if someone is talking about a language feature that's kind of not really that important, and it doesn't really make a great point, and they're kind of clutching at straws, as we say, which means trying to make something out of something that's not really meaningful, then you need to tell them that. So if you don't think that the main point is relevant or the evidence that they've chosen is relevant, you might want to comment on that. And on evidence, have they used appropriate evidence to justify their claims, or is the evidence weak? If you think they can find a better example, you don't need to tell them what example you would use, but you need to be able to say, look, sorry, but I just don't think that the evidence or the authorial choice that you've used really backs up your point. It's very weak, and you need to find better evidence. And lastly, Year 10, the analysis. So have the authorial choices in the paragraph been identified, and have they analysed them appropriately? So is it more than just, this is a metaphor? I know this is a metaphor because, which is not really an analysis. So that's what you're going to do for the first 10 minutes of this lesson. Once you have finished this Year 10, we're going to do a bit of practice on purpose and the message of the text, and then looking at the audience. So if you have a look here on the left-hand side, we have a comic, it's called Depression Comics. What I'd like you to do is have a read of the speech bubbles, look at the illustrations in this cartoon, and answer these questions on the right-hand side. So what's the purpose of this text, would you say? And where do you see some authorial choices that have been included to support what you say the purpose is? So what's the point of this? And which authorial choices support your idea of what you think the point of that comic or cartoon is? Once you finish that, question 2, what do you think the message is that the author's trying to communicate to the audience about depression? So let's say depression is the global issue here. What's the message that the author's trying to portray to us? And I'd like you to use a couple of examples of authorial choices to justify that. And question 3, lastly, who is the intended audience that the author is targeting? So who do you think that this comic might be aimed towards, and why? What areas of this text tell you that? Where might we find this, for example, this comic? So just those 3 questions, I want you to practice thinking about that. Write them in a Google Doc. You don't need to submit this to the classroom. It's more practice for your analysis because some of us are forgetting these little steps in our paragraphs. And I've also put an example up of how that might look in a paragraph. Please don't skip forward and read the paragraph before you do this practice, these practice questions. It's really important, okay, that you actually take the time to think this through. And then we will join the lesson together at 11:55 a.m. So I'll make sure that I have the link up for you at 11:55 a.m. Okay, guys, if you're looking for who your partner is, you can find this document on Google Classroom, and you just need to share one paragraph with your partner, not the whole entire essay. It can be any paragraph of your choice. You'll also find the slides on Google Classroom. Okay, I hope that makes sense. 11:55 a.m. I'll have the link up for you.